As a coach, you need to be very knowledgeable about the environment that you're coaching in, and also what you're coaching about. You need to be knowledgeable about the sport that you're coaching, so therefore you can give out good information to your athletes, players, and therefore they can progress in this. They can use this information to progress themselves, so they can go and do some fitness, like the coach might have said. The coach can use that information that they've found out, they've experienced, and they can use this into sessions. They can adapt sessions. Therefore, if someone's struggling, they can make it easier for them. If someone's finding it too easy, they can make it harder for them. This is also done by qualifications. With a coach, you need qualifications to gain more experience, to become better coach. And they can apply this to other sports as well, rather than just one sport. They can do other sports because they can use different skills, activities to apply into other sports. Progression in players can be done in different ways, because if you know how if someone's struggling with this and they find that hard, you can, with a skill, you can try, maybe try this. This might help you even more, and therefore they might learn it from that way. As a coach, you need to sort of be linking in with your nationally covered bodies. For example, football is FIFA. They need to keep up to date with the rules and the regulations, so they're teaching correct techniques, skills, rather than teaching them the wrong things and maybe doing the wrong things, and therefore get a bad reputation. All coaches need to be good at what they do, and they need to have a good background of their coaching environment that they're going to be coaching in. For example, Alex Ferguson, he has the experience of playing in football, so he knows how to take a pass, how to follow it on, how to increase the size of where they play, sort of formation. That's all down through experience. Whereas also he has a team behind him which are qualified, and they also have experience as well, but coaching wise. So as a team they can work together and become better, and the team will be better. But at non level, it's quite hard to carry the coaching environment through, because they don't have the experience or the understanding, because it can be quite expensive for a club to fund it. The comparison table. Alex Ferguson, he needs to maintain professional behaviour because he has a reputation to live up to. He did 25 years at Manchester United with a good behaviour, and he progressed his team, which was really good because they had a lot of success. Whereas Steve Bailey, he coaches Ellie. Rather, Ellie's more of the face of disability swimming, so therefore she will maintain the professional behaviour rather than the coach. Health and safety wise, Steve Bailey and Glenn Mills will both carry out the role of health and safety, because on tracks and in swimming it can be quite dangerous if something's in the way or something's stopping, or can be quite harmful to the athlete. Whereas Alex Ferguson and Sam, usually the pitches are out okay, other people sort the pitches out, they do the risk assessments, but then Sam does do the risk assessments as well. Equal opportunities. Sam Riley is quite a big one in this because he's a lecturer and a coach, and he teaches sort of teenage people, so he will want to give out the best opportunities he can and the most equal ones, so everyone has a chance of achieving the highest and doing the best they can in their sport, which is the main thing of being a lecturer and a coach. Whereas Steve, Alex, and Glenn, they have the same thing, but there isn't as strong as Sam. With knowledge of coaching environment, Steve Bailey needs to be 100. He needs to make sure he knows what he's doing with swimming, because it can be quite dangerous if someone doesn't know how to swim, or they're doing something incorrectly and can cause them to maybe drown or something. It can be quite dangerous. Whereas Alex Ferguson, he doesn't need to do this because he has the team behind him, like the staffing team, which will help him out doing the coaching. Yeah. So the next one is communication. This skill is very important when coaching, because as a coach, you need to give out the best information, the most important information to the players or athletes. They need to be clear and well explained, or maybe simple points if you don't have an elite team or a team that's a bit new and you don't know their sort of standard of how they play. If they're clear and well explained, it's easy to understand. They will find no problem in performing a skill, doing a drill that you've told them to do. Whereas if it's not well explained, then they're going to find it hard to perform skills, and it's not going to be very well done. So, and also this can lead to within a group, and you're communicating poorly, you're going to find trouble in the group. People are not going to listen. They're not going to know what to do when you finish talking or explaining, and you're not really going to have a good reputation for the coach. The coach is not going to have a good reputation. So when demonstrating or communicating, not all listeners, not all students listen. They take things in differently, so they might find it easier to demonstrate or take part in a drill, so they can understand how to do it rather than watching it and going, "Hang on a sec, I don't really understand that." So yeah, and then for a coach, you don't want to make people sound bad. You don't want to say, "Oh, don't do that, don't do this." Maybe say, "Maybe try this. Maybe this is a way to improve." And also, there's a lot of praise and motivation that needs to be in with communication, rather than telling people, "Nah, don't do that, don't do it like that. Nah, you can't do that," because it's going to make the athlete or player sound really bad. It's not going to be great. For example, Tony takes this communication on really well because he talks about Jessica Ennis's performance, and if she's doing something wrong, he'll say, "Oh, maybe try this. This might help." And therefore, he needs to be clear about what he's talking about, because if she doesn't understand, then she's going to do something wrong, and it's all going to go in the pot. Okay, this leads on to problem solving. Within problem solving, a coach needs to be able to adapt sessions to suit the needs of people taking part in sessions. For example, the athletes and players, if they're finding it hard, the coach will make it easier somehow by maybe changing the skill or the drill. If something goes wrong in the training session, they shouldn't be afraid to go and change it or make it easier or find a way around or a solution, so the players or the athletes are able to carry on the skill, but maybe it'll be a little bit easier or it'll be something a little bit different. When making a decision, you need to be very decisive as a coach. This is so they can stick to session plans and not go off on a tangent each time something goes wrong. So therefore, it needs to run smoothly and needs to be all planned out. Usually, training sessions should be based on strengths and weaknesses. This is because if you're working on something, a weakness, this is sort of problem solving it, so you can break down what is going wrong in, for example, football, and you're passing and moving. It might not be done correctly because you might be running to the same person who you just kicked the ball to, and therefore you're all clumped together. For example, Manuel Pellegrini, if his team is losing at half time, he'll bring them into the changing rooms. He'll tell them why they're losing, what's happening, and therefore he might come up with solutions such as changing the formation, changing the players on the pitch, so they can work, maybe increase the team cohesion, and also make sure and reinforce the skills and drills that they have learned in previous weeks and apply this to the game situation. For another skill is time management. This is good for a coach because they have time to prepare sessions, so when planning them, they need to make sure they have enough time. So for drinks, run over time. So if they're enjoying the skill, the drill, you might want to let it run a little bit longer. And also for practice, if they're not really getting it, give a little bit more time for people to practice, so they might get the hang of it. If it's not planned, it's going to look very unprofessional, and you might have a bad reputation because people might not turn up because it's not very good, because time management is not well used. usually as a coach you reflect on aims and objectives at the start and in the middle and at the end of a session. This is so players know each activity they do, it will reflect onto the aims and objectives and they will achieve something by the end of the session. If there's a lot going on, people won't, usually athletes and players won't understand why they keep changing it, why it's quite different. Maybe in disabled, for people like ADHD, that's not going to be a bad thing. But people who don't have ADHD or something, they need to break down skills. You need to have a bit more time so they can practice them, and they will get it eventually. For example, Amelie, she's Andy Murray's coach, and she will use the time management correctly for when he goes into tournaments and he wants to win titles. She will do session plans to make sure he peaks at the right time rather than not using time management correctly, and he won't do as well because he'll be losing on titles because he's not progressing at the right time and therefore he'll lose out. Okay, with the comparison table, the Glenn Mills and Sam Riley are going to have a better communication. This is because they need to tell people what they need to do, how they need to improve, how they're going to perform skill, and how it all links in with what they're going to do. Sam Riley's a lecturer, so he needs to communicate very well. He needs to make sure he explains lessons well, his coaching sessions well, rather than Manuel Pellegrini. He doesn't obviously need to communicate, that's very important, but it's not as much as Sam Riley because he's teaching people and he's progressing people rather than Manuel. With Manuel, he's more of a problem solving guy. For example, at half time, he needs to sit his team down if they're losing, and he will change the tactics and the players to make sure they try and win every game. Whereas Sam, he doesn't really do this. He sort of obviously he wants people to become better, and he will pick out problems, and he will try and make a player or a student a lot better. But there's more of peer assessing. He wants them to go away and progress themselves rather than him telling them what to do all the time. Whereas Glenn Mills, he's sort of in the middle. He will pick out the problems, but then he will also tell them to progress in different ways. Time management wise, everyone needs to meet a specific time for people, so they will need to progress at a specific time. They need to meet their goals at a specific time. But as a whole, time management isn't as important as communication problem solving. But then time management is important because it gives you time to obviously do like your session plans, and it will sort of just all reflect all coaches really, because if something's not planned or it's not done in a specific time, then their goals aren't going to be achieved. Also with time management, improvement will take time rather than doing it straight in a session and realising that their players might not understand it. So over time they need to, as like for a coach or something, give them a period of time to complete a task, and therefore they will improve in that time rather than give them a really short slot and they might not progress in that time period.